Welcome back, CSC 235 to exercise 4C, and we'll be continuing our exploration of loops and printing out our information to an HTML page using the DOM, which is the document object model. We're going to change this one up a little bit. We'll put some favorite movies, and I'll create a new repel and use the same template, and I'll call it 235, so I know where to find it, dash 4C. And I'll just call it loop movies. Now you could use any kind of movies you want, or you could use the ones I use. It doesn't matter. We'll just use like 5 or something like that. And I'll put CJH for my initials. And again, I'm trying to do this from scratch so that you're not just following what you did last time and you're getting used to writing the code a little bit. I hope that helps. Again, get rid of hello world, get rid of this stuff down here, keep body so you just have the script in here. And while we're in here, we'll just make a div. I'll call it div movies, and I'll hit tab. So we now have a div. That's going to be our container for anything we want to go in there. And we're going to make a bullet list of favorite movies. And I'll run it, so there's nothing here. And I'll go to my JavaScript, and I'll make a list. And I'll just call it const. I'll start with const because I'm not going to change it. And I'll call it BB movies. You know why? I'm going to make baseball movies. I couldn't think of... I mean, you know, I'm how old? I've seen millions of movies. I don't know what my favorite ones are, but I can break it down, just baseball movies. So I'm going to break it down to baseball movies, some of my favorites. And I'll put Field of Dreams, comma. I'll put The Natural, Moneyball, which I really like. I'll put Bull Durham. I think I like that. I guess it's as far as a favorite baseball movie. Field of Dreams, The Natural, Moneyball, Bull Durham. I thought there was something else. There's another baseball movie. I don't know. That's all I can think about right now. I got 4 of them. So I'll just highlight, quote, highlight, quote. Remember, if I think of another one, I could just throw it in there. So I only got 4 favorite BB movies. All right. And what I'll do first, before even doing my loop, I'm going to dynamically kind of create part of our list. Oh, I just thought of one, The Rookie. I don't think I like that a whole lot, but it's a neat idea, being an older guy and going back and being a pro or whatever. But anyway, I have 5 now, so I thought of The Rookie. And what I'm going to do to start is actually make a variable I'll call const, and I'll just call it movies, and I'll make it equal to get element. If it's not showing up right, it's because I didn't put document dot get element by ID, and I'm going to get my ID, which is movies. So I have the ID name is the same as my variable name. That's okay. So that'll be movies. So that'll just represent getting that div, because I want to kind of start this off. I could have just put different stuff in there, put a UL, but I like the idea of generating a UL on the fly instead of just writing the code in there. So to do that, I'm going to create another element, and I'll make a variable. I'll say let list. I'll just call it the list. This will be the UL or OL. If you want it numbered, use OL. If you want it bullet, use UL. So I'll use that. I'll say let list equals, and I'll use document, and this time we'll create element, and that's coming up. And I'm going to create a UL. I'll put a semicolon, and that just creates it. But what we want to do is I want to append it as a child to movies, so it's inside there. So all I have to do is do movies dot append child, and I'll append list. So it should be in there. So that should do it. So if I run this, I don't know if it'll show up yet. Let me just inspect. I should have HTML. I should have body. And there's my list. So I have my list. So I just generated that dynamically. So I have my list in there. I did it before loop because I don't need to generate the list multiple times. I'm going to generate list items multiple times. But this part, I'm just generating list inside div. I'll just put that. I'll move that down, or I'll leave that here. So that's all I did there. And now we're going to generate list items inside the list element. All right, so these will be the LIs. So we have to create another element LI, and we're going to have to append that to list. Okay, so let's make our loop here. For parentheses I equals 0. Start with 0 because we have an array. and semicolon. Then we'll do I is less than the length of BB movies, and that would be BB movies dot length and semicolon, and then the I plus plus. All right, so we have our loop ready to roll. We just need our curly braces. Well, what are we going to do first? We have to create an element, an li. So let's give it a variable. Let's say let li, we'll just do that, doesn't conflict with anything, equals, and we'll do what we did here. It's just like this. It's almost like we did this, and we're just going to create an li. There we called it list. Here I'm going to call it li for line item. And you could call it item. You know, you don't have to call it list. You could just call it item. Maybe that would be better. List item. And we're going to create an li. So we're creating the element here. And then if we think about how we did the previous one, remember we just did item dot, I think we did like inner HTML, and we give it a value. So we're giving this a value inside here. And what's that value going to be? Well, it's going to be the BB movies and the index. So we could just put BB movies. We're going to put the array, and we'll just put the index. And it's going to be I, because it's going to be whatever it is as it iterates through the loop. So this is giving item, or li. If you want to call it li, if that makes more sense, the li, that makes more sense to me, to be honest. So if you're taking that, let me make sure both of these are li. So that makes more sense to me actually than item. So the li is going to have the value of whatever that is. And then we just have to basically append it to the list. So the list is kind of above that. Remember, li is following the list. That's why we appended list to movies, so that we created that tag, that ul tag that's inside of movies. And all we're going to do here is make list, which we just made this thing, and we're going to put appendChild, and we're going to append li to it. That should work. So we're just taking that same approach. We're just kind of creating a list first without using any loops. Then in the loops, we're using some of that other stuff. We're always kind of appending something. When you append child, when you do list.appendChild, movies.appendChild, you're kind of putting it inside of there. It's a child. This is the parent. And what are you putting in there? I'm putting in an li, which already has a value of the BB movies with an index number. So it should put in a 0, and each time it appends, the nice thing about append is it's doing that repeatedly. So when you append something, it's going to keep adding it. So you don't have to do a plus equals or anything like that. It's going to go through and append it each time. It's going to say, okay, create an element li and give it this value, and then append it to the list. That's what it's doing. So let's see if it works. And that seems to work. And then obviously you can style things however you want, but we can also style with JavaScript, or you could style with styles.css. You could just style an li in there. I guess you could just go in here and just do li and do margin top, and I'll just put 1em and see if that will affect it. See, now when the script runs, it's going to recognize the li element. That's easier than trying to actually do it with JavaScript, but that works too. You can do anything you want. So anyway, that's 4C. Again, not a lot of code here, just a little bit, but a little bit more to remember. We created some elements here, and again, it takes a little while to get your brain around it a little bit, even for myself, because I want to explain it so it makes sense. So I really have to investigate it, even if it seems like just simple stuff. I really want to be able to explain it, and I want you guys to understand what you're doing too. So when I say, hey, do a challenge and do something else and try to do this on your own, do a numbered list, whatever, we may be doing something like that where you can at least start with it, but you're starting to think on your own a little bit of how to create elements and child elements and how to repeat them by using a loop. So that's 4C. Again, a couple little intro exercises here with loops and just kind of touching on the DOM document object model of HTML and communicating with the DOM using JavaScript.